Uh, Hi guys, welcome to the final part of this tutorial where we're talking about how to build a full stack application using Next.js and Node.js. This one is based on a requirement that I have over here on this document where we are requested to make a simple full stack prototype, which should be built with the Next.js and TypeScript. Show it. Have a form which can be able to collect the age, the income, number of dependents, and risk tolerance. Then have a personalized recommendation, and then make sure that it's responsive. Either you're using Tailwind. For our case, you've been using Tailwind. Then on our backend, we use Node.js with Express, or Next. For us, we used Node.js with Express. And then we have this endpoint as well. That is a post request that accepts this payload and then should return recommendation. And then we also did integration with Postgres. We'll work on this right now to ensure that we return a simple recommendation, be able to showcase that as well on the front end. And then we did the authentication flow. We did not build any mobile app. We have not added any login yet, and we have not done rate limiting. Then the last thing that we'll do is deploying the front end to Vercel. So I'll start with list going through whatever we have done, so you can be able to fill the number of dependents, your income, then the age, and the risk tolerance as well. You submit, you get an auto response. Then you can be able to sign in, for example. Okay, like that, and then you can also sign up as well. So one of the things that I've done is I've linked those GitHub repositories below in the description itself. So if you want to follow along, or you just want to confirm what you've been doing is the same as what I've been doing, you can go there, then you can continue from there. So the first thing that I will start, I will list, let me explain what you'll try and achieve today. I will ensure that we get better recommendation from our backend. I will integrate the backend with the front end. I'll show you a very interesting kind of trick that will always protect your backend from stealers who just wants to know your endpoints. Let me just say that a way at least to mask whatever it is that you're sending to the backend, that is. And then once you're done with that, we'll ensure that once you're logged in, you cannot navigate to the sign-in page or the sign up, as well as if you're logged in, these two will change to log out. And then as well, the other thing that we'll do is we'll ensure that you can be able to log out. So first thing first, I will start by fixing an issue that I noted later on after we finished our stream last time. So going back to our backend, so we start with that, and then you move to the front end to complete all those tasks. Ensure that you have all those tasks complete. First thing, I realized that we did not define a response in this throw system error. So I'll start by doing this, like that. And then in everywhere that I'm importing, like I'm calling this function, I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna add, make sure that you're passing the response as well, like that. So everywhere that you're importing these, you're actually calling this function, ensure that you're passing the response so that it actually returns a response to the user. That's the first fix that we need to do. Just a minute. So ensure that On the recommendation controller, on the throw system error, you ensure that you pass the rest here. And maybe a simple trick that will help you prevent such kind of errors is at the top of your JavaScript code. So in each and every file, just to ensure that you don't have this kind of typo or errors, you can just add TypeScript a check. This at least will notify you of where there are issues, things like this, like that, and now you can at least can catch those syntax errors before you even get to actually run your code. So let's actually fix this, and the simple fix for it is to add to string, to ensure that you convert it to a string before you try and pass that string. So here it's complaining because I shouldn't have done that as well, but now that takes the error as well. And then the reason I'm converting it to a string is because in the front end I can pass it as a number. So this is gonna throw an error if I don't convert. I do not confirm that this is actually a string before we try and pass this int, because this is it's pass int is expecting a string. So if I pass a number, this is gonna fail by default. And then moving down to here, we repeat the same thing. We ensure that we take out this. Oh my bad. We ensure that we remove this negation, and then we need to convert it to string. So that I'll remove this one as well. That solves our syntax errors. Now, just before we now move to the front end, the next thing that we need to actually do is to ensure that we come up with a recommendation system that now once you have a user's passed the age, the income, or the risk tolerance, we have a message to recommend for them, recommend something to them. So what the first thing that we'll do now is we create a custom recommendation, custom function that's gonna be recommend like this, which accepts actually accepts a type one, accepts an amount, also it accepts a duration. Sorry, that. And then from there it returns an object, and inside that object we'll have a plan at one, and then we'll also have a reason as to why we gave that recommendation. The reason, just a minute. So for that one we'll have, I will pass we'll pass that will pass a string actually. Then the first one will be the type, that, sorry, and then we'll pass example the amount itself, the string, that, and also, well, but technically there's no need to do this. I think about it. So the amount itself, and then now for the duration itself that they need to, their coverage will exist. So here will be duration. If duration is equals to lifetime, then return the word life. Otherwise, duration, if duration is actually, sorry, duration plus the number of years. Then the reason will be based on your age, risk tolerance, and family status. We recommend something like that. So this is what what we'll be showing is this, but it's good to have this as well if you need to display it somewhere as well. Then now we have the function that now handles coming up with this reason as well. So first things first, we'll do get recommendation handler, that so that you do not confuse with this one as well. And then from here, gonna do the age, expect an age, you expect an income. We actually don't need an income. We just need dependents. That we need risk tolerance, and then we return. Let me start with recommend. That here will be I know. Expense. So the amount is 100,000, like that, and so now we need to do our checks. That will be if age is less than 40. That's the first check. Then if risk tolerance is high, so, and I will return something over here, just a string, that, and then I'll return I recommend term life. That, then the amount is 500,000. Yes, so that you can be able to differentiate it, I'm just gonna add an underscore, and JavaScript will still interpret it as a whole number without this affecting it. And then finally, we just pass the number of years. And then we do the same thing for medium, and let's actually start with medium. Be term life as well, and then the amount is 300,000 for 15 years. Then finally we have if it's none of this, we just meaning it's a last resort, which is low, so it's still gonna be whole life, like that. The amount is gonna be 250. Then they'll be paying for it their whole life, their lifetime. That. And then once you're done with that, the only thing that we are left, oh yeah, forgot. So if age is greater or equals to 40, and the age is greater, sorry, it's less than 60, that I will do if dependents greater than 0, we return recommend. I will pass for life, just copy this, and the amount is gonna be 400. And if the dependents are 0, we just turn something like this. It's gonna be whole life and lifetime. And now we'll be done with the recommendation. Just what you need to do is at the point where they create the recommendation, and then when you're returning this response, what we'll do is we'll destructure it into recommendation from here, and then I just pick it from data values. You don't need to add the data values. This is just for TypeScript for it, because if I do not add it, sometimes it can act weird. Just for me not to have to worry about it, I'll just add it like that, and then I'll add a message. The message will get it from, so is equals to get recommendation, where we need to pass the age, and then we need to pass the dependent, and also pass the last one is the risk tolerance. Like that. Then from there we'll get our message back like that. And basically from that we'll be done with our whole backend. Now we have been able to return add a recommendation, you've been able to get, you've been able to update, you've been able to delete as well. Now what is left now is to actually now hook this backend to our front end. So first things first, what I'll start with is going back to our front end, and I will add some configuration into our next.config file. And one of the things that I will add is an .env file like this. So here is where I'll store most of the things that I'll keep reusing over and over again. And one of the things that I will reuse is the API URL, because so if I'm going to be calling our backend, I don't want to keep on doing like having to hard code that URL over on the actual code. I just need to call it once and that's it, so that if once I deploy my backend, I'm just gonna change it in one place instead of having to redo it over and over again. The other thing that I am going to do is I will add the JWT key. I'll explain why I'm bringing it here as well. But for now, I'm just gonna go to our previous .env file. I'm gonna copy our JWT key, and I'm gonna paste it there as well. And then on the API URL, as our server is running on localhost 4000, that. So once I deploy it, I'm just gonna come back and change this here only. I don't need to having to do the rest. So we'll be done with the configuration. Now we are ready to start hooking up our backend to the front end. And the first thing that I'll do is inside the life insurance, not the backend, but the life insurance itself, I'm gonna create a folder and I'll call it DB actions. You can call it whatever name you want to call it. This is just my own preference because I just want to change the game a little bit to be a little bit different than you're used to. So from there, next thing I'm gonna create is a user. Let me just call it auth.ts. That now I also create a recommendation.ts file. Inside here, the first thing that I'll do in both of these files is to import not actually to say this is only gonna be a server-side component, and we do that by saying use server, so that none of these actions will ever be executed on the client side. So what's the goal for this? let me save this here. If I go back to my front end like that, if I go back to my front end like that, the one thing that we realize, if you go under the network tab and I refresh this, here you can be able to see all the network requests that are coming in. So you can be able to see that the website made calls to these, so on and so on, like that. So so what we'll do is, if okay, what I mean is, whenever you're making a request to the, maybe to a specific endpoint, you realize that the website will send the request into that URL. And with that URL, one thing that happens is it can expose your backend, like the URL to your backend. But if you send our database request to the Next.js server itself, then Next.js will send that request to our backend. Now no one will have to know where our URL for the backend is actually running. So we'll implement that and we'll see it in action. So we'll start with the auth, where we start by creating a user. So inside the auth, the be actions are create user. We're expecting something. We'll come back to that. And then here we're expecting a payload, that. And inside that payload, I have to define what I'm expecting the user to, or the front end to give me, using TypeScript. So I'm just going to create an interface where I'm going to call it user payload. That, and the first thing that I'm expecting is an email, which is a string. I'm expecting a password. This is also a string. And I'm also expecting a confirm password. That. And then in this this interface is gonna define it here, that whatever the user will pass, it's only gonna be of these types, nothing else. And then I'm gonna add a try catch. Then I'm gonna keep it consistent, so I'm gonna return an error like that with error.message, like that. So I don't want to complicate it, so I'm just gonna say the type of this is any. I don't want to go deep trying to explain the type of errors that I'm expect, because they might be different. And then one of the other packages that we'll now need to use is gonna be Axios. So I'm gonna go ahead and install that, npm I Axios, like that. Hi Macrons, hi, how are you? And then so once I install it, I'll go ahead and run the server itself, and then I'll import Axios. Axios, like that. And then I'm gonna go ahead. We'll have to now send our request to our backend. So since I'll keep on reusing. Okay, so to answer your question on the payload, so if I go back to our code on the sign up page, let me go to the component itself. One of the things that I'll be sending is actually that you should have a confirm password, then confirm password, like that. So on this payload is what our backend is expecting, so that an action can actually be performed. So I'm trying to create a user, and this user, to be able to create our user from our backend, it requires an email, and it requires a password, and also a confirm password. So this is our payload. the same thing, and this is the same thing that I'm gonna pass it to our create user. So I've also defined that in this payload, I'm only expecting these three things. That's the same thing that I'm gonna send it to our backend here. Let me go to here, go to create user. So in our backend as well, we're expecting an email, password, and confirm password. Now that's our payload. You'll see it in action in a few minutes as well. So the next thing that we need to do is sanitize this to ensure that whatever is being sent is whatever it is the user is supposed to send. So if by any chance they are able to disable a JavaScript and try to send it out without JavaScript, it's still gonna be caught before it even gets to our backend. Macrons, I'm from Kenya. Nice to meet you, by the way. Where are you from as well? So I'll start by confirming that the actual data is there. So I'll do if not email, or need to restructure that from payload. So email, password, confirm password, getting it from the payload itself. So okay. Okay. Hi Macron. So welcome to the channel. So validate email and ensure that it's a valid email. If it's not, still return in this format so that it's consistent. That is, it has to have an error, or eventually I'm gonna return success with maybe saying user created, like that, so that from our front end itself, like now the code, once you call this function in our front end, you'll be able to, it knows that it's either an error that's going to come back or it's a success. This will prevent weird maybe outputs from our function itself. Yes, Macron, yes, I do have a job. Yes, and sometimes I do take those side jobs. But now I do this YouTube just actually to try and help other people learn things that personally I learned out of experience, because I've been assuming, because just because I know it, I keep assuming that everyone knows. Maybe you can share pictures of your app. Let me look at it and then maybe I can give you my thoughts on it. So back to here. So return email is required. Required that. And then I'll also confirm that password exists. Dot line. Password, if it's not password, or password dot trim dot length is 0, we return an error saying password is required. Okay. whenever you get a chance, there is an email on my YouTube channel. You can always shoot me a message with it whenever you get a chance to maybe get those screenshots and send them my way. I'll be glad to look at them. So password is required. Is do the same thing for confirm password. Okay. You can send them to my email. There's an email on my channel. If you just go to my channel and then you go to the description itself, actually confirm. Cannot see it not there. Let me leave my email on the description. So just a minute. So my email is that. You can shoot me a message on there. Let's continue. So we do the same thing for the confirm password. And then lastly, we make sure that the password do match. So confirm password, we return password does not match. Once you have that, the next thing now we need to do is send that request to the backend. We'll do that by doing is equals to await. So with that, we need to convert this to an async like that, and then we do axios dot post. So first, before even I get there, we need to have this variable. So I'll call it a URL is equals to process dot env dot API URL, or whatever name it is that you called yours over here, and set the port according to what you set on your backend as well. So from here, I'll go ahead and do pass the initial URL, and then our URL the last one was /user. Then we need to pass the payload. So I'll do payload that, and then I'll make sure that the email is into lowercase. This is just an extra check. You can never be be too sure, especially when it comes to what the users will do with your system. So with this one now, I can comfortably say that you're done with now sending that request from here. But before we move forward, let's ensure that you can also log in. So I'll go log in a user, and then async payload. Yeah, for here we're just expecting an email like that, so it's gonna be a string. Then so expecting a password, which is a string, and then I will do another try catch. I will return this. Just copy this as is, and then finally we'll confirm that the email is valid and the password is also valid. Let me just copy this. that. So validate the email and ensure that there is a password. And then finally, we do response is equals to Axios dot post the URL itself, URL, and then login, and then we pass our payload. And then we have password, and we can return success. Now, before we can say that we are done with the login user, one of the things that we need to ensure that we do is we set a cookie on the browser so that every time you're making a request to any of our routes, we send that cookie as well to the backend, which now it's the same authorization that we had on the backend on the backend that when you're using Postman. So to do that, one of the things that we'll need to do is we'll import something from Zit. Let me confirm. Let's look at the documentation. It's been a minute. So Next.js. And documentation, look at so it import it from the headers like that. Next headers, then the cookie. One of the things that we need to do as well is to initialize it, something like that. So cookie store is equals to await for cookies, because we must wait for it. It was changed on Next.js 14. Yeah, and it was switching to 15 actually. So once you have this, the next thing is we need to get our token from response.data.token. Then they do cookie star dot set expecting a string, so the name of our cookie, so it's gonna be session ID like that. We're expecting the value, which is the token now, and then we have some configurations that we must do. So first thing is the cookie name, the token, and also our configuration. So one of the things that we need to do is set if it's HTTP only, and then just a minute. So the reason for an HTTP only is to tell the browser that only this cookie should only be sent through an HTTP. Like it should be on HTTPS, I mean. That's what I mean. So I'll set it by true, which sometimes localhost is considered as that, and then secure. This one means that only the domain that we are sending should be the one that sends this cookie. If it's sent from another one, then no, the server should actually reject that. And how do we ensure this? Right now I'm gonna get an issue because we don't have a domain. Localhost is not the actual domain. So what I'll do is I'll do process.env, env.node environment, and if it's production, then it's gonna be set like that. If it's production, then it's gonna be set to true. If it's not, like right now you're in development mode, it's gonna be false. And then maximum age, it's gonna be you set number, maybe the duration that you had from our backend, you had actually set it to do 2 days. So I'm gonna do almost the same thing here as well. And then with that now, this ensures that you have the token saved on the browser itself, and now we're authenticated as well, and we'll be done with the login. Just before I'm done with this page, I'll ensure that you can log out a user, and you can also check if they're also authenticated as well. We need it somewhere in the incoming feature right now. So log out, log out. It's gonna be an async function which expects nothing like that, and then we'll have a try catch. We'll also here the only thing you just need to do is just clear the cookies because you're not storing them anywhere. And then from there we're gonna do cookie store dot delete the name of our cookie like that. And then finally we just return success, saying success to be true, something like that, just to be simple. And finally I'm just gonna take this and I'm gonna set it here as well. And then we do check out that, and then copy the same thing. So from here, what you need to do first is check instance token is equals to cookie store dot get our cookie, which is session ID. That so the token exists, we return success, else we return success to be false, like that. So this is just a simple way. What maybe to be extra careful, like to be extra to ensure that that actually token is ours and it's not something random that someone has set. What we'll do is we'll need to decode it and ensure that it's decodable by our server. So I'll go ahead and install the last package, which is called Jose. So this one, it's like another, it's more of, this is more of JWT, but it offers the same thing, like you can be able to decode it the same way, and you can be able to decode it the same way we've done it with JWT, but now it's available. It works with Next.js. I had an issue with using JWT over here, so this is the only package that worked for me. So with that, I'll import it. So import, you say Jose, like that. Sorry, I need to do import JWT verify, like that. And then once you have our token, the next thing that we need to actually do is try and decode that token. And the way we do that is we get payload from await JWT verify. So we pass our token itself, and then we pass our key. That. So let's see what it's complaining about. Should be dot value over here, like that. And then since we know this exists, we'll add an exclamation. Let's see. Complaining of not accessible parameters. Okay. To fix this, what we'll do is just above it will write secret is equals to new text encoder encode key. Then we pass here like that. So if actually if this doesn't work, it's just gonna throw an error to here. So what I can do is just, I don't even care about the error itself. I just care about if check if the user is logged in, because I'll have another middleware that will always ensure that if you're logged out, it automatically loads and takes you out of the page itself. So yeah, I'll return that instead of returning an error message. The next thing that I'll do is now ensure that I export all these functions that you've been writing. Is the first one is create user, login user, log out, login user, and finally check out. I think all of them are catered for. Now, onto the last endpoint before we start ensuring that we have linked them to each and every page. I'm just gonna do for the recommendations as well. So I'll start with Axios, then I'll import cookies, that because I do need them. And then now we can start with sending the request. So expecting a payload, so recommendation, which expects an age is a number, a risk, which is a string. We have dependent, which is a string, number, depend. Yeah, so expecting the last one is income, which is also a string, like that. And then now we write our function recommendation. So here expecting a payload, which will be recommendation payload. And then we have a try catch of type any. And then finally we return here an error.message. And so we'll do the same checks that we had over here. So what I'm gonna do is just gonna copy whatever we had so that I save up on time. So go to create recommendation, and I'm gonna copy all these checks that we had. Then I'm just gonna edit them out. That actually, yeah, like that, and then we start fixing the reds. So age, income, risk, dependence, all coming from payload. That's one. And then sure that this is a string. That means we are returning an object with error. So that's, we are saying age is required. I think I do have what I need. So the other one is income is required. The other one is number of dependents is required. Sure, this is a string. That's same thing. And then now it's ready to send to the backend. So you do the same thing. Response is equals to await. Ensure this is an async, the function itself. Then we do axios dot post. We need to have the URL. So then I'll do recommendation. That we pass our payload, and then the other thing that we need to do is pass the headers. So we need to ensure that we have the cookies. So cookie store to that, and then n is equals to that. Now the last thing that you're sending is the headers with an authorization. Is gonna be our token like that, and then we return a message, return success with the response dot data dot the message itself like that. Make sure that you export it. Then now we are ready to link this up to now the functions that we've been working all along. So I'll start with the login. The login, this is pretty simple, by the way. So here I'll come to the handle login itself, and the first thing that I need to do is convert it to an async so that we can run the that function. So we'll do constant response is equals to await. We call the function that we created, which is login user, which we imported it from the DB actions and /auth. And then we need to pass the email and password like that. And then finally, but not least, we need to redirect to the home page, and we do redirection by importing router from, so it's use router. We import it from Next navigation. Please note it's Next navigation, not the other one. Let me see, the other one was what? Comment these out. Not Next router. Use Next navigation if you're on the client side as well. Please note that. And then with that, so I'll take this router, and if response dot success is true, I'm gonna do router dot push into that. So I don't even need to have, all I can do is, or else just return an invalid credential, something like that, and we'll be done with the login. So remove this, don't need that. For the sign up, it's gonna be the same thing. I'm gonna ensure that the handle sign in is an async function, and then here, what we'll do is constant response is equals to await create user. That was the name that we gave that function. Then we'll pass our payload. That. So remember, we're importing it from the DB actions as well. Then once, just need to confirm if the user is created. So response.success we return this, that, else we return the error message itself. So I'm just gonna do response.error, and we are done with the sign up as well. I will also do for the add recommendation, and then I will test to ensure that everything is working as intended. So from here, I will make sure that this is an async, and then below, what we'll do is here, before I move that to that, remember they have to be an integer. So I'll make sure that I convert before I pass, like that. I'm gonna copy this, then the same thing, constant response equals to add recommendation, and then you pass our payload. So for the recommendation, ensure that you import it from the DB action here, and then the recommendation.ts, and then we now check what it's complaining about. So what is it saying? And I've converted all of them. Hey, Kalava. So what I'm talking about is yes, I'm teaching how to do like a full stack application using Node.js and Next.js. It was in a document over here. So the goal for it was to come up with a simple full stack prototype where we build it with Next.js and TypeScript. And they needed us to have a form that can fill all this information: the age, income, the number of dependents, and the risk tolerance. The other thing that they needed for yes, I know JavaScript. Actually, I know a number of languages. So for example, the JavaScript itself, I can do Flutter, I can do Python, and I can do actually some RPA. Yes, you can ask a question related to JavaScript. Feel free. Yeah, sure. Go ahead and ask. So go back here, and then I'll try and figure out what the issue is. Type property income or incompatible income. Go ahead and ask your question. I'll be glad to answer it. Parameter of type recommendation payload. So let's look at, oh, should be a number. That was my mistake. So here I'll do response, and if success, Kalava, go ahead and ask. I'll be glad to answer the question in any way that I can. Even if you have the example, just write it there, and then we can go over it together and see how best I can answer that. Then if it's success, what we'll do is return the message itself. So here it's gonna be response dot success. That. And then else we throw an error. Actually, what I'll do is on this instance is I'll move this down, and then I'll first check if the error exists. Then that it's gonna say something went wrong. I'm not gonna be any more detailed. That if there is anything that went wrong, they can try and let us know. But before that, you can be able to capture any kind of issues, so that the next line does not proceed. I'm just gonna return it as soon as it fails before we get to the success. With that, now we are ready to test our application, and then we'll see what is left from there. Going back to here, we can start with the login. Oh, you want, okay, I got you. Okay, so the question that I have for you is, it's a tricky question, because I realize not everyone that does understand that kind of what JavaScript does. Can you take a minute and explain to me what hoisting is on JavaScript, and when that can happen? Don't Google, just try and come up with maybe a scenario for that. And then maybe if you know how even to solve it, that will be really helpful for the rest of us. So in the meantime, let's continue testing our application as I wait for the answer. So I'll go ahead and run our backend. So give me a minute. So cd into live. I also want to ask another question as you answer that. Anyone else who can answer that, my next question will be helpful for the class. So if you're doing maths, for example, you're doing an application that is based on like finance, how would you handle the addition of the different amounts? Because there is an issue that if you don't know it, you don't know it until you actually find it, and not until you find it, it's actually until maybe a specific client who is always a specific to finance, maybe they're trying to counter check each and every cent. They will figure it out. So if you know how to solve that, let me know. So for Calava, topics like variable, data types, DOM, loops, array, object, function, events, a little bit, operators, conditional statements. Okay. Okay. Let me see. Let me type the question in the chat. So for Calava, I'm gonna make it simple for you. So I'm gonna ask, between const var and let in JavaScript. So I've asked the question in the chat, and maybe you can ask another question. Let me see. let me see. I don't want to ask general questions because I want to ask questions that actually have come across, and they will be actually helpful in your development, like in your in when you're doing development, personal development. I just want to ask, when do you do like a follow, like what is the best thing for that, things like that. I want actual applications that actually add value to you. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Color, yeah, that's correct. Do you think, uh let me ask this question. Give me an example where you'll actually need to use var instead of a let. I know var is a global scoped, and from a personal experience, I would really discourage someone from using var. I would really discourage someone from doing that because it comes with its own shares of problems. Once I'm done with this, maybe I'll walk you through that to see why I should avoid using var instead of let. I should use let instead of var. That's what I meant. Let me see if I can get another example. I'll do the example as to why you should avoid using a var. Let me see another question. It's not really about old, but it's about hoisting, whatever I was mentioning, where this is. So the major issue about var is it's available even before it's even declared. And with that, I had an issue where I was maybe, let's say, I was trying to call a variable where it's not yet declared, so it would get undefined. And at that point, if I try to rename it, I would get, it was just a mess. Let me just say that. Once you're done with this, I can show you what I meant. And actually, I think I've done a video on that as well. So I'll talk about the hosting, and I'll talk about that math issues I was explaining earlier. So allow me to finish this tutorial, and then we can continue with the questions. So we're almost done with this tutorial, by the way. So just test, you have run the backend npm dev. So now to the example that I was saying earlier was, yeah, I'll ask in a few. So whatever I was saying earlier was, the trick that I love about Next.js these days is if I now go ahead and log in, test that. So if you look at our endpoint over here, one of the things that you did notice, it sent the request into our backend itself, like not really the backend, I mean the Next.js application itself. At no point did it expose our backend, because our backend is running on localhost 4000 slash login, something like that. So with this now, we can now go back and investigate why this actually happened. So let's see. Uh, I've been actually, I have almost like 10 years in JavaScript. So the best thing I will say is once you're done learning the JavaScript itself, maybe you can start learning like React itself, because right now most organizations are actually using React instead of the other ones like Angular or Vue. But Vue is for people who have come from the normal HTML, because it looks the same. But if you're coming from JavaScript, go ahead and learn React, because you can also learn things like React Native, which you can be able to build a mobile app with it. So it's a little bit more diverse to it. And then once you're done with that, now you can go back into like learning the backend itself. That would be a very good path for you to become a really skilled developer. At least now that you'll get to understand all the syntax that you need to know. So let's go back and investigate the issue that we are having. So it's saying the email is required. Let me see what the issue is. Let's print here. Oh, my bad. I'm seeing the error. I should negate this email itself, not that. No, React is not used for the backend. You can learn things like Node.js with Express. That is the backend. React is just front end only. So here, as you can see, I was able to log in successfully. And the good thing that I was saying is at no point are you exposing your backend at any point. That's the thing that I love about Next.js. Now let's test and ensure that we can be able to submit this. So dependents, I'm gonna do 50,000 as well. The age is 30. Risk tolerance, I'm gonna do medium. So I see it never sent the request. Let's go back here and see what happened. Let's restart the server just to double check. So number of dependents is 1. Our income is 50,000. Age is, the age itself is 30. It's medium. Then submit. Still not working. Still not sending the request. Let's figure out why that is happening. So let's see. Response. Let's stop clearing for now. I'm gonna do T. Let's refresh. Let's do 1 like that. Oh, okay. Now it works. Let's go back and see where we are getting object. Something failed as well over here. Our backend failed. Let's go and investigate why that happened. So that's not like this at all. Let's see. Let's restart it. Then go back to here, submit that request. Then cannot read property of undefined reading ID. So we're getting an issue inside our controller. I wrote it. This should be recommendation handler, not, yeah, like that. So it is accepting an age. risk, dependence, and risk. So so it's risk tolerance, and then that should be risk. That addresses the issue that you are having. Now we can be able to submit and for it to work. So the number of dependencies is 150,000. That the age is 30. Then you submit. Now getting another error. Let's see what the issue is. Okay, I see. So here on the back end, whatever we were supposed to return is message.plan. That should work. And then here you submit one more time. So number of dependents is 1, maybe 60,000 this time. The number of the age is 30, and then submit all life. Now that is done. So sorry, I wasn't looking at the chat. I know these topics: variable, data types, operators, conditions, array loops, and DOM events. Those are the basics for now. So once you understand those basics, I would suggest you actually learn with a project. Like pick a project, learn with it, and then now all this will start making sense, because you can learn all those, and eventually one day you'll end up not using most of the things that you are taught. But it's a good to know them actually. So I would suggest you, the next thing you do is start do a project with maybe React. So follow along someone who is teaching React, and then once you're done, try doing it without having to learn the tutorial. Now that will help you. That will really help you a lot. Now we are done. We ensure that everything is working. The only thing that we need to test. Yeah, what you can do is you can try and replicate this tool as well. Like go and pull this code, go through the last 3 live streams that I've done, try and see if you understand them. If you have any issue or something didn't make sense, you can always shoot me an email. My email is in the chat, on this chat actually. You can scroll up and you'll find it. So the last thing that you need to test is if the email is sign up is working. So test at email.com. So I'll set it as test like that. I'm getting an issue. Go and look at the problem. So I'm back to create user. This should have this as well. So submit that, account created successfully. The only thing we forgot to is clear these inputs. Let's do that. So from here, you want us to add the currency. So what I've done is I ensure that you cannot type any numbers, like any string. Like you cannot add A to Z like that. Only numbers are accepted in this input itself. If you want to add to select the currency, what I would suggest is use packages like npm, something like that. So because there are so many currencies out there, and if you start trying to create one by one, trust me, you're gonna be there for a very long time. So what you do is the people have already done this kind of packages where you have kind of you have you have things that you can reuse instead of having to try and rebuild by yourself. So the sign up is also working. We just need to ensure that we clear these inputs. So I'll do that by going to the sign up, and then once it's successfully here, I just do email, set email to an empty string, set password to an empty string, then set confirm password. And we are done with that. Next thing that we'll do now is to ensure that because as you can see, yes, I'm logged in, but I can still go to the sign up. I can go to sign in. I can go to the sign up, which is not correct. Like at no point should this application, if I'm logged in, go into any of these pages. I should only be seeing this screen. So what we do is we'll go to the life insurance application itself on Next.js, not the backend, and on the root folder, maybe just after next.config, go ahead and create a file, call it middleware, like that. And then with that now, this will allow us to create like an intermediary of all the requests, and like every request that goes to Next.js has to go through here. And with that, you can be able to check if this user is logged in, and if they are not, we'll redirect them to the sign in page or the login page. We'll do that by first importing to define import next response, like that, from the next server itself. And then you can also import the type, so that will be our next request, and then import our package, the import JWT verify from Jose, like that. And then one thing that we need to do is exempt we need to define the public routes, and then we need to exempt specific routes that need to work either way, if you're either authenticated or you're not. Examples of those are maybe the favicon, your images, your assets, because this could be actually be required somewhere. Hi Luna, a minute. So with that, now we'll define the public routes. Our public routes are currently, we have the login page, the login /login. We have /sign up, and we have if, let me just put it for the sake of anyone that could be using the pages. So if you have /API, also exempt that if you want it to be exempted as well. And then the other list of routes that are required that cannot be exempted, like there needs to be available whether you're authenticated or not. I'm going to call them bypass paths, that, and they include one /images, like that. The next one is /assets. And then we also have /_next. And we also have slash favicon. That favicon dot icon. It's usually inside the public folder. Yeah, actually, it's in the app folder, favicon.icon, like that. And then now we need to define our middleware. So we'll export an async function middleware, call it middleware, like that, middleware. And then we expect a request, which is next request, like that. And then what we need to do is get the path that is incoming. So we'll get that from request dot next. No. Next URL dot path name. That. And then function. So if path, sorry, the bypass path dot path dot starts with pp. So we are checking that if in this, so we are going through this list to check that within this list, this path does not exist. Like we want to first whitelist this. That makes sense. And then or path starts with slash API, like that. So if it's in that, we return next response dot next. So that will continue if this is in that list. The reason why I'm saying this needs to be exempted is if you go back to our page and maybe just do a reload, you'll see that there are a couple of things that load or seen like this favicon. This needs to be exempted because it's available in both authentication and if someone is not authenticated. Next you have, now we check if the cookie exists, see if that user is logged in. If they're not, we log them out. So we start by getting the cookie itself. So session is equals to request dot cookies dot get session ID, that dot value, that. So if just before we check, we'll have a let just to null that, and then check if session. I'm gonna do a try catch, and then I'm gonna do instant, because it's gonna, okay, I'll explain once I'm done with that. Secret is equals to same thing that we did on the previous example. So text encoder that encode process get our key .env dot, no, it's called gwt key, that. So what you're trying to do is verify if that cookie is valid. So get it from the payload equals to await jw2 verify the session itself, and then the secret. So we set decoded to payload. That just in case you need to use it somewhere else. So this can fail because maybe the cookie has expired or someone is trying a malicious code. So what you need to do is redirect this user back to the login page, and you ensure that you delete that cookie as well. So it goes to not next response dot redirect. We structure that URL. So we do new URL. So it's supposed to be caps, and then slash login, that, and then you pass a request.url. So once you have created the URL itself, you're gonna do response dot cookies dot delete our cookie, the one that is invalid and is not valid anymore. Then return the response. That. So you're done with this. The next thing that we need to do is just check if now we check if the other parts are on that list, if they're trying to go to the pages that they're not supposed to be, if they're already logged in, because it doesn't make sense to have the login page if I'm already authenticated. I shouldn't be able to log in twice if I'm already logged in, if that makes sense. So if not, public roads dot includes path, and now it's decoded that I'm gonna create the login URL. Is equals to new URL slash login. Then I'll go to requests URL, that return next response dot redirect to actually login URL. So with that, now we just need to do the same thing where we do, now we make sure that this is just checking that you're not logged in, so you're taken to this page by default. Now we need to ensure that if you try to go to any of these public routes and you're already logged in, it should direct you back to the home page. So what I'll do is I'll take this, and then I'm gonna remove these negations, and I'm also gonna check if not path that's with slash API. Yes. So here, go back to, let me call it dashboard URL. Now what this will do is, if you're trying to access any of the public roads and you're already logged in and you're not trying to access API, like the endpoints for the API, should redirect you to the dashboard URL. This is just an extra check as well. So next thing is just done next response dot next, so that it continues with the next process as well. One of the things, I'm just gonna copy this one. I'm gonna do export constant config, and then matcha gonna be, I don't know how best to explain this one, but let me try and get that string over here. So sometimes it can come like anything in this context should actually be allowed to continue. That is, like if it has the next or something like static or next image, favor icon, or asset. This is especially applicable when the code is in production as well. Now with that, now we are ready. I should test it out. Let's try and go to the sign in page. You can see it no longer works. As it tries to go to it does try to go to those pages, but immediately it gets redirected. So as you can see, with that now, next thing that we need now to do is have the logout, and then this application will be done. So what we'll do is we'll go now to the navbar itself, and because I want to call something from I want to use client side application, sorry, a client side I'm gonna call it like a function that I'll explain in a minute. So I'm gonna convert it to a client rendered. So use client, and then I'm gonna import use effect, because I want to check once if that user is logged in, or if they are not, so that I can change that navbar itself. So use state. So I'll have constant is out like that. Then that will be use state. Then that by default should be false, like that. Then I'll have a use effect that has a function, and then I'll ensure that it only runs once when, like, the initial state of that application. So I'll not pass any params into this, and I'll ensure that they are just that it runs only once. So I'll create a function inside here. So page logged in user, like that. So it's gonna be an async, and then here I'll try call it. Then I'll do try catch constant response goes to await. I can't call it is out indicated. Let me rename this. That. So is out. Let me confirm what I called it from here. The last function, or checkout. That. So like that, and then what happens if response dot success is there? We set is authenticated to true, else set it to false. Like that. And then now we can be able to control our buttons from here. So what I'll do is I'm gonna wrap this into is authenticated, that if they're not, something else should be returned. I'm gonna copy our buttons, our links, and I'm gonna change them to be button, like that. Yeah, should have a parent so that stops yelling at me. That, then fix this issue over here. So this should be log out. that. We'll have a function logout handle. So it's gonna be an async. Then I'll do try catch GB to await logout like that. And then we need to use the router as well so that we navigate the user. So import router from imported it from the wrong place. B slash navigation. Then do router dot push slash login. Ensure that you call this down here. On click. So all you need to do is like have use wait alert dot fire. So it's a title. Oops. Then text. Something went wrong. It's just set the default. And also have icon. Yeah, like that. Now our application is now ready. It's done. Because you can now log out, you can log in to start email, password was test as well. You can see, you can set the number of dependents, you can have the age, then get the response as well. So this is done. I'll go ahead and push this to GitHub. You can pull it, you can tinker around with it, you can try and improve it, add some functionality to it, make sure that it looks way better, and then this can say you can now completely say that we've built a whole full stack application with it. And if you want to deploy it, once you push it to GitHub, just go to Vercel. It's free actually. And then you can log in with your GitHub account. You'll be able to see the list of your application, the code you've pushed to GitHub. They'll be readily available on there. And you'll be able to deploy this application as well. So this will give you like a temporary URL if you don't have a domain. If you want to maybe showcase the skills itself, feel free. So I think now we are done. Maybe what I'll do is can set up another live stream where we can have maybe a Q&A where you can ask questions if you have anything in mind, or if you want us to do a specific tutorial, or you have a specific problem that has been disturbing you, you can always leave a comment or shoot me an email, and I'll be glad to do a video on the same thing. As I promised, let me see if I can come up with, try and explain the issues that I was saying. So in our backend, yes, this is just a bonus. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a file. So I'm gonna call it index.js, and then I'll stop this. I'll do node index.js, like that. So the issue that I was saying is, so I'll have so log, maybe I'll call it my variable that, and then +1, sorry, badly that, and then so do. So you can see, despite having written my variable over here and not having it declared anywhere, it's already available even before I declare it in my code, which can be an issue, especially if you have this variable somewhere up there and you wanted to change it somewhere below. This will cause a lot of havoc and you won't be able to figure out what the issue is, even without having to review the whole code itself. That's the reason why I would suggest never to use var, or if you're using it, be very cautious of it. Please ensure you know whatever it is that you're doing, because otherwise just use let with whenever you need it, because now you see it will just cause the whole application to fail instead of having it undefined, and you do not need it. The other thing that I was saying, the example I was saying was, how do you fix mathematics in JavaScript? It's actually an issue in most of the programming languages, where you see if 0.1, I think it's 0.2 plus 0.3. We both know that this should return 0.5. Confirm if that's, I think it's 1 and 2. Yeah, this is the problem. This should return 0.3, but you're getting some funny math over here, which doesn't make any sense. So to fix this, what you just need to do is let me write this properly. Convert your amounts into cents. So initial amount is equals to 0.1 times 100, then final amount is equals to 0.2 times 100. And then what you do here is it's gonna have initial amount plus final amount divided by 100. Now that should give me the correct math. So these are small things that we don't usually like, we could oversee until now it becomes an issue, because eventually this becomes a whole number. And then if you look at your database, kind of looks so messy because you don't understand where all this came from. And it's not just JavaScript. So many of these high level languages have this issue. So for now, I'm going to end it here. I'll make sure that this code is on GitHub. It's also in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next